One of the stops on the Warriors' 7-game road trip of December was the home of head coach Mark Jackson, and just blocks from the home of the Brooklyn Nets is the high school where Coach Jackson's future was set into motion.
Just reminds me of the investment put into my future by my parents. Incredible parents that instilled a lot of great qualities in me, and the sacrifice that was made. I had to travel an hour and a half from home to school every day, an hour and a half back. Fortunately enough, my sister's a year younger. We did it together. But those memories of being in Brooklyn, of the relationships developed, the fans, the family members, just awesome times.
And at the game in Brooklyn was Coach Jackson's high school head coach, Patrick Quigley, who got an early glimpse of Mark Jackson, the person, not just the basketball player.
First of all, very sensitive person. Used to write poetry very often to kind of settle himself down and to make himself relax. A family person. I know both of his parents from the days that he first came to Laughlin on.
And this return home, this time as a head coach, was certainly special for his mother, Marie.
I've always had faith in Mark because at 8 years old, Mark said he was going to be an NBA player. And Pat saw what everybody else didn't see because, excuse the expression, they used to say, can't jump. But that was Mark's forte. He didn't have to jump. He saw the court, he passed the ball, and he's a throwback point guard, and he will now be a throwback coach.
And when looking back at his early high school days, an amazing Warriors connection can be made. While St. John's was recruiting Chris Mullin, the younger Jackson was playing on the other team, impressing and opening the doors to his own storied college career.
Well, what people don't realize is I tell my team and I tell young folks all around this country, at the end of the day, you never know who's watching you. If I would have went through the motions thinking nobody was at the game to impact my future, I wouldn't be here today. But because I treated every game like it was a game 7, like it mattered to me. There was a coach in the stands looking to recruit his prize guy in Chris Mullin, and noticed a scrappy guy on the other team and began to recruit me because of the impact that I made in that one game. So you never know who's watching, so be at your best.
And it was in 1983, after he had already caught the eye of the St. John's basketball program, that Coach Jackson, then a senior in high school, won the state championship of New York right here at Bishop Laughlin.
The biggest thing I remember is the battle for point guards, the best in the city. You're talking about Pearl Washington, Kenny Smith, Kenny Hutchison, and myself. At the end of the day, I took more pride of holding the team trophy. And it set the tone for what was most important my entire life. It wasn't about individual, it was about what my teams did.
And with a street-level view of New York, you get a sense of how basketball is part of the larger culture of the streets, with the playground central to the emergence of players like Mark Jackson. And it was certainly part of his larger basketball education.
Well, it was where you worked on your game. It was the lab. It was battles. It was great competitive spirit. It was getting after it, where you learned how to be a man, not just a very good or great basketball player, but where you learned how to be a man. And the most pride I have is my youngest brother, who passed away a year ago, is actually a street ball legend, and I know what that means to this area.
Back at school, his coach saw a player that could certainly one day follow a similar path.
I always thought Mark could be a coach. He could, or he could general manager, because he's smart and he knows the game of basketball. But I remember it was during the strike. I can't remember what year it was, but he was in Indianapolis, and I ran into him sometime, I forget where, and I said, "How you doing?" And all I said, and he said, I'm running the team in preseason workouts since management's not around. And he says, "Coach, I like it." So that was my first hint that he was going to do it. There was never any doubt that he could do it.
After the game in Brooklyn, Coach Jackson reflected on the return home.
Well, for me, it was great. I got friends and people I haven't seen in a long time, even people that worked at the Garden working here. And for me, looking up in the stands and seeing my mom, incredible blessing for her to be here. Looking up and seeing my sister, my niece who's playing college basketball. It's good to be home, and it's even better to leave out of here with a victory.
And as only a mom can express, there is certainly something very key to what Coach Jackson carries forward from his past.
That because his players respect and love him, he'll get the most he can out of them, which is good because it'll make the Warriors a winning franchise.
In Brooklyn with the Warriors, I'm Laurence Scott.